Hi, and welcome to Art Starts. Today we're going to be drawing a picture of a puppy, and this will be our reference picture. So to start, we're going to look for shapes. What shapes do you see in this puppy? I see an oval here for his head. Do you see that? So I'm going to start by drawing an oval shape for his head, sort of like that. To me, his nose looks sort of like a rectangle. So I'm going to add a rectangle here for his nose. You might see more of maybe just a tall hump for his nose or another half an oval. So I have his head and his nose, and then his ear. What shape do you think his ear is? A triangle, right? Coming up like this, down like this, and over like that. So I'm going to go ahead and add his triangle ear. Now the reason we do this is to make sure that he'll fit on the paper. See, now he's fitting on the paper okay. And make sure the size of something is proportional to something else. Like the size of his ear is not too big or too small compared to the size of his head or the size of his nose. So here's our puppy again with the shapes outlined. So you have this oval head, right? And then you have this rectangular shaped nose, although yours might be more curved, and that's okay too. And then you have this upside down triangle ear. Well, on a tilt, the ear that's a triangle. So see all those shapes there? And those are the shapes I have for my puppy. So I drew these. These are a little bit darker than I normally draw because I want to be sure you can see them. But we want them to be fairly light because a lot of these lines we might just erase later. Okay, so to start then, let me pull up my reference picture here. We've got the shapes, now we're going to look at the lines. So an easy way to think about that is if you were like a little ladybug crawling along the edge of this puppy, what would your lines look like? So as I'm starting here on the tip of his nose, let's say that's the tip of his nose, I'm going to crawl down this direction. I'm going to crawl down like this, down his nose. And here you'll see I'm not following my shape lines exactly. And I'm going to move on up and over like this. Then it kind of comes down a little bit here. So I'm going to bring that down on the top of his head, then down like that. I'm going to bring that down around. So I didn't follow my line exactly, but that's okay. And now at his nose, I'm here at his nose, and this comes down a little bit straight and then out. Come down a little bit straight and out. This comes out a little bit like that. And bring that out a little bit for that part of his mouth. And then down and around like that for his chin. Sort of like that. So see all these extra lines I have there? But they're light enough I can erase them and that's no problem. Okay, then I can go ahead and add in his nose. So looking at the shape of his nose, I can kind of see a curve there. Add in a curve there for his nose. This is a little straight line down for his mouth. And then his mouth is this long, long curve, isn't it? This long curve going down here. So I'm going to add that in. That long, long curve coming down like that. And then the other little side right there. There we go. And now I think his chin, maybe I should bring that back a little bit more. I can go in and tweak that as I want to, and further on I get. Okay, so then his eye is sort of in line with his nose here, isn't it? If we come straight across, his eye would be right there. I'm going to come straight across. That would put his eye right about here. And his eye, Goes up, straight line, down a straight line, and a bit of a curve. And go up and down and a bit of a curve. My reference picture, you'll notice, is in black and white, or actually grayscale. You can see all the different grays in there, and that makes it actually easier to draw because then I can get all those grays with my pencil. I'm not drawing in color, so I don't need the color of the picture, but all those grays make it easier. And this is going to be the iris, or the colored part of his eye, which probably in this puppy looks like it's brown. And then I'm going to go press a little harder for the pupil. And you'll notice I'm leaving a white spot in his eye. That's called the catch light, and it makes animals and people just look more alive, because if you look at someone in their eyes and there's any light around, the eyes are reflecting that light, and that's what the catch light is. Then his nose, we can shade that in a little bit. And his nostril is this dark little oval right here, so I can add that in. Now the bottom of his nose is darker than the top, so I can darken that up. And I think I made the top too dark, so I'm going to go back and erase a little bit of that. Kind of give him a little bit of a light nose there. Now the other thing about drawing animals, especially furry ones like this little puppy, is that to draw his fur, we're going to draw lines that are going the same direction as the fur and the same length as the fur. So here, these are shorter hairs going this way, and these are going up this way. If you'll notice, some of these are coming out this way. These are going up and over his eye like that, kind of like that. These are short hairs coming this way, and these are coming down this way. And you don't have to draw them all, especially because he's a light color. Just a few lines will indicate the hair, and leaving the white on the paper will make him look white. But we can draw some out here, and he's got some little hairs coming. You can see his fur coming around here. And you want to think of it as if you're patting this little dog, which you'd be patting him across the head like this, maybe down like that. And these extra lines we can also get rid of. Get rid of some of these extra lines here. We don't need these. Actually, his nose looks a little long to me right now, looking back at this little puppy, so I can change that a little bit. He's got quite a long nose, but that's okay. It's all about the practice. So even though my puppy has a little bit, his nose is a little too long, it is still good practice to draw, and still good practice to work with these shapes and lines. Every picture you draw probably will not turn out perfect. And I like to tell my students that, you know, if you're playing an instrument or learning a sport, you practice a lot. And you don't expect just to sit down at a piano and play it perfectly without having practiced. And drawing is a skill like that too. And that just takes lots of practice. But it's fun practice. If it ever becomes just very frustrating, it's time just to set it aside and try something else. But in the meantime, we can have some fun practice. So see, these hairs on his ears are curling up like that. So I'm going to curl up like that and curl down like that. See, I'm sort of following his ears, his hair on here. And then these are longer, and they're going to come around like that, go up like that. And see, suddenly he's looking rather fluffy, isn't he? We don't need that line anymore. I think that's his other ear on the other side, so I can give it a little bit of a line and bring that other ear down on that side. Then you can also, to give it the different shades of gray, the different grayscale in there, we can take another paper. This is just a scrap paper, and I have a soft pencil. This is a 7B. If you don't have a 7B or a darker B, that's okay, because you can do it with another pencil too. And what I'm doing is rubbing the graphite on there so I can pick it up with my finger. Does get your fingers a little messy. And now I'm going to rub it on the puppy. Because see, in our picture, he actually looks gray, right? So to make him look a little more realistic, I'm going to rub that. And it also softens the fur lines, the lines of fur there, by rubbing them a little bit. It makes him look softer. And then where there are shadows, I can add a little extra, like around his nose, around his mouth. And then for his ear, see how that makes him look more realistic now? He's got that grayscale going like a black and white photograph. And around his ear, where it is darker, all this hair in here, that's where I would just keep drawing and keep overlapping my lines. So you can keep drawing and drawing. Some people don't like drawing fur very much because it is a lot of repetition, but then it's not, because this fur is going all different directions and it's so soft. And so I can go over it again and again where I want it to be darker. And see how more lines make it look darker. And then if you happen to get it darker than you wanted, you can go back with an eraser and pick out some of those darker spots. And rubbing it a little bit makes it have that softer look too. So there is our puppy, and there is our puppy. Good job. See you next time.